Thank you so much, Chairman Guthrie. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of our witnesses for being here today and for your testimony. I think this has been a really useful and important hearing. You've given us lots to think about, and we've heard from all of you, right, that the United States is really on the brink of an AI revolution, that there are many things we need to be thinking about, and just kind of the transformational change that this is going to bring, including demand for energy. And in normal times, that should be great news for my home state of Texas, where we already have a growing industry, a cluster of data centers, and we have the energy resources and the know-how to meet this sort of record high demand. But President Trump's policies are eroding the certainty and predictability that the people who run businesses and make investments need to succeed at every turn. And this is particularly true when it comes to building our infrastructure for our energy to meet tomorrow's demand. So I want to focus a little bit on that. But Mr. Schmidt, I really appreciated your opening testimony today before the panel. And I wrote down a few things that you were speaking about that I want to follow on. And you mentioned, you referenced sort of the balance of power globally. And I think we can all acknowledge that we're in a very uncertain and shifting moment in our history. It's changing minute by minute. And, but you said something I thought that was really important. I want to ask you about that in the context of something you said in your written testimony, which really struck me, and I'm just quote from your testimony, but you said, the government can't win this technological race alone. We must reignite America's unique innovation power, the potent collaboration between government, private industry, and academia. And I won't read the whole quote in the interest of time, but before I served on this committee, I served on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee, and I was struck at every single hearing by the witnesses. We always had a witness from academia, from the government, and from industry talking about how well and efficiently and effectively they collaborated. And so I assume that you would agree with me that the disruptions that we're seeing are challenging in this moment. I assume you would agree with me that regulatory certainty is an important factor for private industry in attracting capital and to projects. So, yes. And I assume you would agree that the supply chain disruptions and other kinds of things that we're experiencing are going to hurt productivity.
Yes.
I also assume that you are aware, based especially on your testimony about your involvement with the Mayo Clinic, that you're aware of the cuts to academic research that are happening, whether it's through the NIH and the cost sharing for medical research or grant funding at various institutions. I keep hearing from my constituents in every industry that the increased uncertainty that we are experiencing as a result of this administration's policies, these are all new changes this year, is really an impediment. And so I just want you to elaborate, with the time we have left, there's about 2 minutes, on your vision for revitalizing the partnership that you described between industry and academia and the government, and then share your thoughts on how we can and should do that in this environment and what kinds of changes we should make to make that possible. And I know we don't have everybody in the room today, but I've heard our colleagues on both sides of the aisle are listening, and I think your insights here would be really important.
Thank you. The Vannevar Bush, post-World War II, constructed this sort of structure that you're describing. The government is a regulator and a proponent, and also does basic research funding. Universities do that research, and then venture capital takes huge risks to do this. You see this in traditional Democratic areas, but also Republican areas. For example, fracking was an American invention following the same problem, and it produced enormous benefits to America by virtue of economics and so forth. Everybody's aware of that. We're now essentially energy independent. So the role of innovation is core. I call this innovation power. I've written about this at some level. The future of America will be determined about the rate at which we can innovate. And we have, unfortunately, somebody who's trying to copy us and moves very quickly. Their innovation model is more centralized, but they're plenty smart. They got lots of resources, and they're very focused, and they do all the right things with respect to, of course, it's not a democracy, getting the right smart people in the right place. They produce national champions, as Alex mentioned, and they push them, and they push them hard for globalization. China is now, in fact, overbuilding manufacturing so that they can essentially become the world's manufacturer again, with huge impacts economically to everybody. You see the power of innovation right in front of you there in China. Why are we not going after that in AI? We should. We invented it. It's right in front of us. It is the core of everything we can do. New developments in physics and biology and science and so forth. The current administration's cuts, the 15% indirect cost recovery, the NIH costs, are not consistent with that vision. If they have a problem with specific programs, do it specifically, not generally.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I've gone over my time. I really appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
Chairman
Appreciate-
Guthrie, I yield back.